The courtroom buzzed with tension as Amber Heard walked in, her high heels clicking sharply against the polished wooden floors. Cameras flashed, journalists whispered, and the world waited with bated breath. This wasn't just any trial. It was the trial, the courtroom spectacle that would dominate headlines for months. Fans and critics alike leaned in from around the globe, eager to see Amber face her most scrutinized moments yet. Judge Penny called the court to order, her gavel slamming down like a drumbeat in the heavy silence. The attorneys shuffled papers, muttering under their breaths, while Amber's legal team whispered strategies in hushed tones. On the opposing side, Johnny Depp's lawyers remained stoic, eyes fixed, calculating every move. But everyone knew the drama wouldn't be confined to legal arguments. The internet, social media, and memes had already set the stage for every absurd moment to go viral. Amber's first moments on the stand were a mix of nerves and calculated poise. She straightened her posture, smiled faintly, and waved subtly to the cameras. Yet almost immediately, the absurdity began. One of Depp's attorneys asked a straightforward question about the timeline of events, what happened on a specific night, and Amber's response was bewildering. I don't recall the exact date, but I know. It was a dark night, she said, her hands gesturing wildly. The courtroom erupted in muffled giggles, a reaction Judge Penny quickly tried to curb. Even the judge raised an eyebrow, her sharp gaze scanning the gallery. "Ms. Heard, please answer clearly," she instructed, her tone balancing patience and disbelief. Amber paused, fumbled with her notes, and then replied with another vague, poetic answer that made reporters scramble for quotes. Social media immediately exploded with clips captioned, "Amber Heard speaks in riddles again," and memes of her facial expressions flooded feeds. By the end of the first hour, the courtroom had already become a stage for what would soon be remembered as the most bizarre and viral courtroom moments in Hollywood history. Every glance, pause, or shrug was dissected, parroted, and shared. And deep down, everyone knew that this trial wasn't just about facts. It was about performance. Amber's testimony quickly became a minefield of memorable lines. Lines so strange that they would be endlessly replayed and memed. One of the most infamous moments came when she described an alleged incident. "I could feel the vibe, the energy. It was toxic, like a shadow of anger wrapping around me." The courtroom froze. Even the attorneys blinked. Judge Penny cleared her throat. "Ms. Heard, can you explain in plain English what you mean?" Amber tilted her head and repeated, almost more dramatically, "It's hard to describe, like walking through a fog of rage." The internet didn't wait for clarity. Clips with dramatic music, captions, and slow-motion replays turned Amber into a viral sensation overnight. Her poetic but confusing answers became a cultural phenomenon, inspiring reaction videos, late-night comedy sketches, and thousands of memes. Even late-night hosts joked about the fog of rage, while social media users debated endlessly over what she actually meant. But the absurdity didn't stop there. When questioned about daily routines and minor domestic disputes, Amber would often respond with exaggerated, almost theatrical gestures. "He looked at me with a gaze that could freeze the sun," she said during one cross-examination. The courtroom erupted with whispers. Reporters scribbled furiously to capture the quote, while social media exploded with GIFs of her hand motions. Judge Penny tried to maintain order, but even she had moments of exasperation. "Ms. Heard," she said, trying to sound firm, "I need clear answers, not metaphors." Amber paused, blinked slowly, and muttered, I just want the truth to shine, Your Honor." There was a collective groan from the back benches, while someone in the gallery quietly muttered, "She really can't just say yes or no, can she?" The first 2 days of testimony cemented Amber's reputation for courtroom theatrics. Her words, gestures, and expressions were analyzed frame by frame, with every pause scrutinized as if it held secret meaning. And while some defended her right to express herself, others couldn't help but laugh or roll their eyes at the sheer drama she brought to the courtroom. Judge Penny's reactions became a story of their own. The courtroom had seen judges frustrated before, but rarely one who balanced exasperation, incredulity, and deadpan humor so expertly. As Amber recounted another incident involving a pet and a shadow of guilt, the judge's raised eyebrow alone became a viral moment. Throughout the trial, the judge would pause, gavel in hand, clearly questioning if she was about to intervene or simply let the absurdity unfold. There were instances when Amber's answers were so convoluted that the judge sighed audibly, muttered under her breath, and even exchanged knowing glances with the attorneys. One viral clip shows her quietly shaking her head while Amber described an incident with a vibration that traveled through the air like a ghostly drumbeat of tension. The internet immediately dubbed Judge Penny's expressions as the most relatable courtroom moments ever. GIFs of her face, staring blankly, raising an eyebrow, or pinching the bridge of her nose, were everywhere. News outlets dissected each one, and social media users captioned them with humorous reactions ranging from mood to me listening to my friends' dramatic stories. Amber seemed almost oblivious to the judge's growing exasperation, continuing with elaborate descriptions and tangents that made the proceedings feel more like a one-woman show than legal testimony. The courtroom atmosphere was surreal, legal proceedings mixed with elements of performance art. Every line Amber delivered became a talking point, not just for journalists but for millions of online viewers. By the end of the week, it was clear that Judge Penny had mastered the art of balancing patience with subtle judgment. The judge rarely interrupted, letting Amber's monologues unfold, while maintaining an aura of quiet authority that made every exasperated glance feel like a headline. In a way, the trial had become as much about the reactions as the testimony itself. Within hours of each day's testimony, clips of Amber's most bizarre statements were online. Memes multiplied, spreading across platforms like wildfire. One particularly famous moment was when Amber claimed, "The air itself was whispering secrets I could not yet understand." The courtroom gasped, or maybe it was a collective groan. Social media exploded, and fans coined new hashtags. Hashtag Amber Speaks, hashtag Fog of Rage, hashtag Shadow Gaze. Reaction videos proliferated, with creators pausing Amber's hand gestures, zooming in on her expressions, and narrating sarcastic interpretations. Late-night shows turned her metaphors into comedy gold. Amber Heard, one host joked, is a walking thesaurus of vague, dramatic sadness. Meanwhile, legal analysts tried to parse her statements seriously, but it was a battle against the tide of viral entertainment. Even Johnny Depp's team seemed both frustrated and bemused. Every time they tried to pin down factual information, Amber's poetic and absurd responses created confusion. "Yes, I saw him that night, but the stars were aligned against me," she said at one point, leaving the cross-examiner blinking in disbelief. Clips of this moment went viral instantly. The courtroom had unintentionally become a stage for global comedy and fascination. Amber's words, gestures, and pauses were dissected endlessly. Fans and critics debated her credibility while also marveling at her performative flair. Some admired her ability to command attention. Others mocked the extravagance. But one thing was undeniable. Amber's testimony had become cultural spectacle, a mix of absurdity, intrigue, and unintentional comedy. Among the most infamous moments was Amber's description of alleged events that blended real and surreal imagery. He had eyes like a storm, and the room smelled of regret, she said, her voice trembling for dramatic effect. Even the court reporter blinked in confusion, trying to transcribe the line accurately. Social media immediately exploded with parodies. Animated recreations, soundbites, and sarcastic reimaginings flooded every feed. Another day, she dramatically recounted an incident with a glass object. The shattering, "It was like the universe screamed with me," Amber said, arms flailing for emphasis. Judge Penny intervened, calmly but firmly. "Ms. Heard, please focus on observable facts." Amber paused, nodded, and then whispered, almost theatrically, I'm doing that, Your Honor. I swear." These bizarre testimonies became memes almost instantly. Every description, every hand gesture, and every pause was endlessly replayed. Some clips garnered millions of views in hours. Late-night hosts dissected the most ridiculous moments, turning them into sketches. Online, hashtags trended daily, and even political commentators briefly compared Amber's courtroom performance to surreal theater. Despite the absurdity, Amber maintained her poise, or at least a version of it. Whether intentional or not, her theatricality overshadowed many moments of serious discussion. For viewers worldwide, the trial became not just about legal battles, but about witnessing a performance unlike any courtroom had ever seen. By the time Amber concluded her testimony, the world had witnessed something extraordinary. A courtroom spectacle blending legal proceedings with unintentional viral entertainment. Her poetic metaphors, dramatic pauses, and strange analogies were forever etched into internet culture. Judge Penny's reactions became legendary, and countless clips were shared, remixed, and turned into memes. Critics debated her credibility, fans defended her, and comedians mined every absurd line for jokes. The trial became more than a legal event. It became a cultural moment, a demonstration of how courtroom drama, celebrity, and social media collide. Every phrase, gesture, and expression had the power to spark global discussion. In the end, the trial reminded the world of the strange intersection between law and spectacle. Amber's testimonies, bizarre quotes, and the judge's subtle reactions created an enduring legacy. People would reference her courtroom theatrics for years, quoting her poetic absurdities and sharing gifs of Judge Penny's incredulous expressions. The verdict may have been one thing, but the entertainment value? Priceless. And as the cameras shut down and the courtroom emptied, the world continued to talk, tweet, meme, and debate, forever captivated by the strange, surreal, and unforgettable moments of Amber Heard on the stand.